My name's Charlotte Davis. I'm one of the physiotherapists based at Joint Dynamics, and I'm here today at Banyan Workspace to give you a few tips on how to effectively set up your workspace, whether it's here in the office or whilst you're working from home, to try and make sure that you avoid any of those sort of aches and pains that come along with working from home or in an inappropriate workspace. So the first tip I would say is that our bodies are designed to move. We've got so many joints in the body, so we want to try and keep them moving regularly. We are not designed to sit in the same position for 8 hours a day. So the first thing you should do is you should try and get up every 30 to 60 minutes, whether it just be a quick stand up, a bit of a stretch into some extension, or whether you walk to the toilet or whether you walk for a coffee or for a water. Just get yourself moving and then sit back down. Once you're back in your chair, the main thing I want you to have a little think about is the height of the chair. So here you can see that my feet are a little bit off the floor. So I'm going to be on my tiptoes reaching for the floor. If I pop my chair all the way down, you can now see that actually my feet are on the floor, but the desk is too high for me. So whilst I'm typing, I'm going to be hunched up around the shoulders. That's going to eventually give me some tightness in the shoulder and potentially some neck and head pain. So the ideal position to get yourself into, adjust the height of the chair if you can to suit the desk. So your arms and elbows should be rested gently and you should be nice and relaxed through the shoulders in that position. From there, what you then need to do is just pop something underneath your feet, whether it's a stack of books or whether it's a small chair, just so that you can rest your feet nicely and you're not reaching with the toes continuously. So now we've got the height of the chair sorted, have a little think about the height of your desktop, whether it's a laptop or whether it's a desktop. The laptop, unfortunately, tends to be much lower. So the first thing I would always say if you're working from a laptop is you need to make it higher. And again, that might just be that you put a stack of books underneath there to raise it up. The ideal position is that the top of the screen is level with your eyebrows. Okay, and you can see for this laptop that is much higher than the position down here. And the reason for that is that we don't want to be into this position looking down into the computer because we're going to get neck pain and back pain eventually. Okay, so once you've raised it up, it should be level with your eyebrows and it should be one arm's distance away from your body. Again, if it's too far away, you're going to be leaning in, straining to look with your eyes, and if it's too close, it's going to give you a little bit of eye strain. Okay, so a stack of books with the laptop. If you can't do that or you can't get it high enough, again, you can put some books under there to raise it up. The issue with the laptop is that you then can't access the keypad easily. So another tip I would say, and I'm doing my masters at the minute, so I'm spending a lot more time at the desk, and the first thing I did was went out and bought a Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse. So I can prop my laptop up nice and high, but actually I can still keep my arms nice and relaxed using the keyboard and the mouse at the desk height. So the next tip I would say is to do with the depth of the seat. This may vary a little bit more if you're based from home, where you're on a sofa, and it might be a much deeper sofa than your legs are long. So what you always want to try and do is make sure that you've got your bum right back in the seat, okay? Because then you've got this nice support for the lower back and it's keeping you up into a nice bit of extension there. What tends to happen if you've got quite small legs is you tend to perch forward on the seat. From there, you'll go into sort of anterior tilt at the pelvis and you'll go into a little bit more extension with the lower back. You're then having to really use these muscles here to keep you there. Okay, and over the course of the day, you'll start to get a little bit tight through those muscles and feel a little bit fatigued, and eventually it will feel quite sore. So the best thing to do, again, is get your bum right back in the seat. And this seat's a little bit high for me at the minute. Get your bum right back into the seat, okay, so you've got the support, and then you just bring yourself right close to the desk, and everything's relaxed and supported. At home, what may be the case is that you've got a much deeper or softer sofa. So in that case, what you might want to do is just roll up a small towel, or even take a small cushion and just pop that behind your back. So So it just gives you and fills in that gap a little bit, so you've still got some support for your lower back, and then you don't feel that muscle ache after so long. So again, if you are working from a sofa, or even something that hasn't got a nice armrest like this, in an ideal situation at the desk, you try and make sure at least your wrists are resting onto there, just to take the weight of the arms. Because again, if those arms are sort of dragging a little bit or weighing you down, you're going to try and use all of these muscles up here to support you as you're typing. And again, over time, these muscles will start to get tight and quite sore. So take that load off of them by just resting the wrists, or if you can, resting the elbows onto the support. If you're on a sofa, so say if you've got your laptop on your knee, which is not ideal at all, but I appreciate sometimes you can't get away from it. You want to at least pop some pillows underneath the laptop, and then you can try and just put some pillows either side of your arm so you've got something to rest on. It's not ideal, but it is a solution if you're sort of stuck in that situation and you've got nothing else to do. If you're somebody that has to use the phone a lot for your day-to-day job, if you have to use a handset phone, have the phone quite close to you and make sure that you're not always reaching for that phone. Again, if you reach for that phone, say once every hour, eventually that's going to get quite irritating for your back. Have the phone as close as you can and just reaching as minimally as possible. Or better yet, if you can pop in some headphones or a headset and try and talk through the headset rather than constantly reaching for the phone and then using that neck tilting to the side over and over again. Okay, try and minimize that unwanted asymmetrical movement all day, every day. Similarly, if you've got multiple screens, which some people have to work with, if you use both screens equally, I would say pop yourself right in the middle of those screens. What you don't want to be doing is turning constantly, from one side to the other, all day, every day. Try your best to keep yourself in the middle so you've got equal movement each side. If you tend to use one screen more, so say if you use your right hand screen 90% of the time and you use your left hand screen very minimally, then I would put yourself right in the middle of your right hand screen, so that most of the time you're right in the middle, you're in a neutral position, and then you only have to turn that head and neck occasionally when you use it, rather than constantly side to side. So now that we should have our setup to the optimum position that we can deal with, now you want to work on how you're sitting. So I know for myself, when I've got a deadline to do and I'm getting carried away with my work, I'm in this position, I'm slouched and I'm really tense through my shoulders. The main thing to have a little think about is, I tend to go from top to bottom, so have a think about the position that your neck is in. So we call it a stooped neck posture, when people tend to come into this position. And this tends to happen a lot if the screen is quite low, so you're trying to reach down to see that screen. So the first thing I say to people is, imagine that you are being pulled up from the crown of your head. So it's not a position where I want you to come into here, because now we've got that chin right up, but if I'm being pulled from my crown, it's going to pull me into this position. So I'm still looking straight ahead, but I'm not into this position and I'm not head forwards. So it's more of a neck retraction. So I'm coming from here vertically with the face, and unfortunately it also makes a little bit of a double chin. So if you can make that double chin position, you know you're in the right place. And then it's not about holding it there, okay? It's about moving in and out of these positions, but that's the optimum position that you want to try and go back to each time. So we've done the head and neck, and then we're going to come down through the shoulders. So the shoulders is something that when we as physios are treating people, unfortunately everybody, especially with desk-based jobs, tends to be in this rounded shoulder position. So they get super tight down through their pec muscles here, and they get really weak in their back muscles behind, which can cause all sorts of problems and pains. So the first thing you want to do is try and think about your shoulders, and you just want to try and open the chest out a little bit. So what you're not doing is you're not pulling back like this, but you're more sort of thinking of rounding and opening. So think of your arms and you just want to twist them out this way. And you can see immediately what happens to my shoulder there. Instead of being in this inwardly rotated position, they come out more into a neutral position there, okay? And think of that when you're in the chair. So it's not pulling back, but it's more just an opening, okay? Little bit of a squeeze with the shoulder blades together, but you're not slamming them right together into each other, okay? So from there, we've got our neck position, so we're tucking in with the neck and we're opening out with the shoulders. Much better than being forwards, rounded, and sticking out with the chin, okay? And you may creep into that position every so often, and that's fine. What I tend to do is, if I know I've got a big assignment in and I'm going to be at my desk all day, is I'll either write a little post-it just saying posture or sit up, or I'll set an alarm for every 45 minutes. And sometimes I'm in the zone and I've forgotten about everything and I think, oh gosh, I need to sit myself up again. And it might be worth doing something like that for you if you know that you do tend to creep into that position and then you're really quite sore at the end of the day. Just set yourself a little bit of a reminder in any way that suits you best, just to get yourself to open out, okay? So we've done the head, neck and shoulders, so now we'll go down into the lower trunk part. So again, I talked a little bit about when you're at the front here, you'll come into that sort of extended position and you sort of hang off your muscles there to keep yourself there. What you can do is if you do start to get a little bit sore through there from sitting for long periods, like we mentioned before, you can roll the towel up into the lower spine there just to give you a little bit of support. But you can also just have a little go at just doing some pelvic tilts. So you're getting yourself moving through where you've been quite static for a while, just tilting back and forth. And that's easy enough to do whilst you're sat down. You can do it standing, you can even do it lying down when you're back at home. Okay, but ideally you want that bum right back in the chair with a little bit of support through there, okay? What you don't want is excessive extension or excessive flexion, so you're forward and then you're rounding like this, because it puts a lot of stress on the back. So I just want you to be aware that all the advice and the tips that I've given you today about your workstation setup and your position in the chair is general advice. So if you are struggling with any particular aches and pains, then do feel free to send me an email or get in touch with Joint Dynamics and book yourself in for a session so we can assess you fully and give you a personalised plan. Thanks very much for having me, Banyan Workspace, and I'll see you for the next session in a couple of weeks.